So actually, our topic is something that we're currently going through at AutoScout, which is a content migration. Content migration is actually, it's a big topic and it's different from company to company. And today I'm not going to guide you through any technical implementation. I will basically tell you how are we managing to go through all the process in a very smooth way. But first things first, so probably a handful of people knows who I am. I'm Daniela Matos Campos. You're probably wondering what a strange name I have. I'm Portuguese, and I'm in Germany for 6 years now. So I studied economics in Lisbon, and I moved 6 years ago. I started my career at the bank in Santander, and start my SEO journey at Rocket Internet in one of a small venture in Munich, probably one of the few ones in Munich, called Couponation, or used to be called Couponation, now a global savings group. And since 2 years, I'm now at Scout 24. But that's it from my side. I would like to actually understand a little bit from who are you, understand who is the audience. Can you please raise your hands if you do SEO? Okay, so big part of you do SEO. This is not going to be a technical presentation, just to let you know. Who is content marketing? Who's doing content marketing here? Also all the SEOs, yeah? Marketing analysts? Product management, engineering? Okay, so mostly SEOs and content marketing managers. Good. So how to go through a smooth migration? I'm going to guide you a little bit to understand our challenges. I would also introduce you to our company, but most of you probably already know you. I'm going to focus on AutoScout today. We actually the largest online car marketplace in Europe. We are in 18 different countries. We are around 400 people, and we belong to the Scout Group, which went public in 2015. AutoScout was founded in 1998 in Munich. This means 20 years of building content. 20 years. And still is, all this content is still there, and it also looks like a content area which is 20 years old. So, challenges with the migration, there is a lot of challenges, there's a lot of risk associated, but migration also means change. So I challenge you all to take it as an exciting change, which is a necessary step in order to develop, yeah, and to bring up your numbers. So the same thing as evolution of mankind. You need change. The change ones are the ones that are considered the strongest. So again, as mentioned, every migration is different. First thing that you need to consider is your goals. Why are you actually migrating? Do you need to have it very clear? Do you just want to basically get rid of old stuff? Or do we actually, at AutoScout case, despite wanting to clean things, we are very sure that with the same amount of content that we have, which you probably won't be able to find it if you go at AutoScout, we can do a lot better than we're currently doing. So, set up your goals first. That's the rule number one, that everybody in a company should be aligned. You know this, the W rules for sure. There's, I normally go through it to make sure that I have a thorough plan. Let's start with the why. So again, why are you going through a migration project? Why do you need it? Because if you have 20 years old, if you are for 20 years old in a market, it means that there's a lot of legacy. So question it and make sure that you just actually keep the good stuff and get really rid of everything that you don't need. That's one of, for me, the biggest reasons why we're currently doing. So, as well, 20 years old website, as I mentioned, it also looks like 20 years old. We need to keep ourselves updated. We want to, most probably, a reason for you to also go through a content migration is to introduce innovation. You want new features. Most of the searches are now done via mobile phones, so you want to be mobile responsive. You need a new structure of your website. So make a bullet point list of all the reasons why do you want to migrate. Then a migration means you're moving something from A to B. So try to understand where do you want to migrate it. If you're not yet HTTPS, take the chance, it's a good one. But think mostly about, do you have the right CMS in place? I know it's, again, very challenging. Most people don't like 2 changes in a row. This is actually a big step that we're moving forward, because we actually had 3 different CMS systems, which, as you can imagine, nobody could really handle all of them. And every time we wanted to do a certain change, the biggest challenge was actually to find a responsible person. So collect everything, bring everything into the same CMS, and make a proper selection, which I will also support you a little bit further on how to. The URL structure and the site structure, this might be something that you also want to consider. So the new structure of your content, and the design as mentioned. So CMS selection. Again, question if you have the right CMS in place or not. You might do, but please question it. First of all, you have to understand how much are you willing to pay for this. Second, is it an open source CMS? Does it fit to your needs, or do you need to have a company behind it because you will need investment in the future, because you need support? Does the new CMS or the CMS that you're considering, or the existing one, has it demands external implementation? There are some CMSs that you cannot implement it by yourself. You need an external agency or their own agency. So if this fits you, great. If it doesn't fit you, does the tool have a development community which will support your developers in case they need some questions? Is the CMS SEO-friendly one? How flexible do you need the CMS to be? Do you need, for example, to bring all your content into your apps? So all those things should be considered before you take the decision of which CMS you should go for. Then, SEO-friendly design. Of course, the design is mostly for our users. It needs to be, our users need to like what they see. But there's also, it needs also to be SEO-friendly, otherwise you will not gonna get any traffic. So there are a couple of things that you should also consider. First, again, 50% of the searches are done via mobile, so please adopt a mobile-first design. Then make sure that your content is indexable as well, so that actually the crawlers come to your website and can understand all this fancy content that you have. There are a couple of tools that you can use in order to see exactly how the crawlers see your website. Then, if you use a lot of images, make sure that you support Google understanding what is the image about as well. So all text is necessary. Then crawlable links. So everything fine might be everything might be working super good with your users. They find their way through, but can be as well that the crawlers actually cannot crawl your links. So be aware of that. Yesterday night, Marcos was telling us about within Searchmetrics, you have the winners and the losers. And one of the research they did was that the biggest amount of losers actually had most of the ads above the fold. So this is a common mistake. Of course, your media guys will tell you, yes, we need the big spot on top. We also have it at AutoScout. We need the biggest spot on top because this is actually what brings us the revenues and so on. But try to be strong and try to argue against that, because this actually has an impact on your SEO as well. You should have content above the fold. Then think about breadcrumb navigation. This is despite being actually, I'm a big fan of breadcrumbs as a user and as a SEO. As a SEO, because it's a very easy way to provide internal linking. And as a user, because it's actually makes it my journey very, very clear, and I know exactly where did I came from, and if I want to go back, it's I know exactly what is behind my page as well. And headings. I know most developers use headings just because they look fancy. No, there's other needs. There's other usage of headings, and you should basically use the headings to structure your content. This will also support the Google and the crawlers to understand what comes first and what is more relevant in your page. Right. So then comes the question, once you know your goals, once you know where do you want to move, you actually need to decide who should be part of this team. In an ideal world, the SEO team will drive it. This is the case at AutoScout. I'm very happy about it. You will also need front-end and back-end development, obviously, product managers, UX designs, but also the content marketing, content managers. Content migration can be a very emotional topic. So it's important that we all work together and understand in a very data-driven approach what is actually, again, the goal and what exactly do you want to migrate. Good, so you have a team, you know exactly where you want to go, you have your goal set. Now comes to the point to decide when is actually the best time to move, because despite the business goals, there are business periods which, again, depends on your own company. You don't want to proceed this migration because, again, migration comes with risk. But also you want to avoid this vacation holiday season to make sure that everybody is in-house. Sounds very obvious, I know, but believe me, this is not as obvious as it looks like. Then once everybody's in place, you align your tasks and roadmap and are able to proceed. Many companies have challenges with basically understanding the priorities. Of course, you have 10 features, and you want to have all the 10 features, but it might be that due to time restraints that you actually can implement only 4 or 5 on the beginning. So prioritize it, make sure that you understand what is the time plus the impact that those features will have to have a better decision. Then the finally of the W's, the what. So actually, what do you actually want to migrate? Again, take a data-driven approach. You might want to also migrate some topics which might not fulfill all the requirements that I will show you next, but they might be strategic and they will actually have potential. So that's so much for the plan. Then we go into the operational, the how. How should we actually proceed with the actual migration of the content? That's the scary part. Again, in ideal world, we have three stages. We have the preparation and the development stage. Then you have the staging environment where you will test everything, and only then you go live with your preparation. Many companies jump the step number 2, and that's also one of the reasons why things go sometimes not the best way. So, very ugly slide, guys. I'm sorry about that, but this is basically also. I know if there's Excel experts here, you'll have better ways to do it. But basically, this is a very, very how-to list of things that you want to do in order to select the content that you want to migrate. So first of all, crawl your entire content, and then create a list with all your URLs and the status codes. With the status code, just put aside the 404s, focus on the 200s first, and on the 200s, then you understand which one has traffic and which one has backlinks, inbound backlinks. Those ones will be the list to be migrated. The remaining ones, you might have to do an exhausting and extensive keyword research to understand if there's actually potential. Because it might be that those URLs did not have traffic, no backlinks, because they were not yet fully explored. So it might be that the potential is there, but they're just not optimized. So the ones with potential goes into the final list, the ones without potential goes into a get rid list. Then focusing on the 404s, with the 200s you're done. 404s, all the 404s with inbound links, you should also redirect them. They have potential, they have actually a value to you and you don't want to get rid of. While the 404s with no links means that probably they won't have any value and you just also want to get rid of them. So your final list is ideally ready. We have a big spreadsheet where Yasmin is over there. She's actually responsible for the project, and Yasmin uses the same spreadsheet to understand what should be the destination URL afterwards. So go through every URL, you understand what is a category, what is a subcategory, if necessary. Again, depends on the complexity of your topics. And once you have the category and the subcategory, it will be much easier then for you to define the final URL, which ideally will represent pretty much the structure of your content. Couple of tips for URL: just keep it as short as possible, and of course human readable, as you think that it is content. And when you rank in Google, your CTR is proven to be higher as well when the user understands what is this URL about. So once you've done with this, you want to create a URL mapping, URL redirecting mapping, which I created a little gamification for you to make sure that reminds me a little bit of my teenager times when I was buying this Bravo and I wanted to know whatever if this is the right pair of shoes for me or not. So this is an easy way to go through it. So do you have traffic? Yes or no? Yes, redirect it. Again, very important. It's important that you redirect it as a 301 and not as a 302, because 302 will not pass any link juice, and you might just lose all your rankings on that specific content piece. If it doesn't have any traffic, then does it have any links? If yes, then 301 redirected. If not, then you should ask yourself, is the content well optimized? If yes, then means, okay, this content piece is actually optimized, didn't have any traffic, any links, means it's not relevant. So then you have two options. Well, you have more, but two options or suggested options: 404 it or 410 it. 410 it. What is the difference? 410 it is irreversible. So once you 410 a URL, you cannot use it anymore. Or you can use it, but you will never rank ever again. So a 404 is a more secure if you're not sure if you might need this URL in the future or not. So, but if the content is not yet, if the content piece is not yet well optimized, then do your content research, and then you come to a yes or to a no, where if a yes goes into the redirect and the no then goes pretty much to the garbage. I know that your content managers will probably not like this. Again, it's a very emotional topic. They'll be like, yeah, but I wrote this content piece, my first day of this company, I really want to keep it. Leave it up to you. Believe me, there's a lot of exceptions if you start with the first one. So my suggestion, just get rid of it. So you have the list now, you already know which content you want to keep, then you have to optimize it, of course. I'm not going to go deep into this topic. I just want to remind you that it's voice search momentum. And as a voice search momentum, you have to keep it in mind. in not only the structured data to be featured in Google, but also because how do you perform a voice search? You don't go on a trip to Brazil. You go, hey, I want to go to Brazil. What can I do there? When is the best time to go to Brazil? So my tip is provide some answers. There are a couple of tools out there where you write a keyword and they will tell you what are the most frequent question answers related to that topic. So use them, provide answers to concrete questions, and this will also improve your probability to be featured. Okay, so preparation is done. Then we go into staging. Into the staging, you have to do pretty much everything again. No, joking, but you will have to crawl everything. You have to crawl everything again. You need to fix all the broken links. You have to check the redirects very, very often. It worked very well when you checked it on the first time. It doesn't work anymore when it's actually on the staging. So please go through it, check it again. I know a lot of things, but go check it. Fix it, everything. It's still your chance now. The users are not, very important. Make sure that not the users and not Google can crawl the staging environment. Ideally through a password, but you can also no-index it. But you have to remind your developers to index it afterwards when it goes into the live stage. So check how's the performance of the site. You don't want to migrate into a slower website, of course, into a slower page. So check the performance, and if it's not good, then optimize it. There's different tools which will tell you exactly what are the problems and how can you make sure that, that you get better scoring. Also check duplicate URLs. And by duplicate URLs, I mean you have the same URL with trailing slash or without trailing slash. This creates a duplication. You have HTTP, HTTPS versions if you're going through that migration again, which we are at AutoScout. You have www, you have non-www. Everything creates or generates duplicate URLs, which is duplicate content, and you might get affected as well. Then prepare, of course, your sitemaps and get ready for the live stage. So in live, you just have to upload your sitemaps in Google Search Console. It was about to say Webmaster Tools still, old school. Crawl your website. Again, go through all your errors. Check your meta robots, redirects. Check if there is any errors on your sitemaps. A lot of times you have missing meta descriptions, page titles. Go through everything again. And then finally you can breathe and iterate and build up all those new features that it stayed parked when you did the prioritization. Yeah, then of course don't forget to measure your performance. Good. Then thank you very much.